Welcome to Get Real America.
I'm Bill Edwards.
I'm Brittany Brown.
Glad to have you aboard on this Wednesday. Here we are, Hump Day, 9th day of August.
Yes, and, again, wild storms every night.
Yeah, but I'll take the wild storms over a hurricane, though. But although Agreed. It did get a little blustery in the backyard yesterday with some chairs blown around and some trees blown up. Of course, they were just small trees in pots, but they're pretty heavy. Nevertheless, I'll take that over hurricanes. Okay.
Yeah, well, there was a lot of power outages in Savannah. I think I was in another office having a meeting last night, and the power went out for about 3 minutes. And we were like, what do we do? I don't know how this works. So,
well, we got a Generac a few years back, and I tell you, it's been worth its weight in gold. When I was preparing a birthday dinner a few years back, and the power went out for over 4 hours, but not at our house.
Hey, get you a generator. It's worth it.
For real.
Worth it. So, anywho, people experience that. I don't think the power was back on within 3 minutes, so not a big deal, but definitely experiencing those summer storms.
Yep. So we can, but and you know what? When we have these, we ought to send kudos out to all the people at the power company, because usually these guys are out in some of the worst conditions, in some of the worst areas, and risking their lives or health of some reason to hook us back up, because you don't realize how much you depend on electricity till you ain't got it for even 3 minutes.
Yep.
Yeah. So thank those people at Georgia Power, Pike, wherever you see them that are out there working in those buckets and going up in these high places. That's very, very dangerous and very skillful work.
Yes, it is.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Yes. So today is the school board meeting. We do have a new school superintendent. This is her first meeting since school has been in session. Mm-hmm. So,
which has been a whole week.
Yes. Well, we're kind of hopeful and excited. I think that, everyone that's met her, I have not personally met her, but everyone said she's, full of life and really cares about the kids. So I'm excited to see what her tenure will bring. Hopefully it brings a lot of change.
Yeah. And cares about the kids.
Yes.
Sure do want one of those.
Yes.
And we're also going to court today. One of them right up the road in Hampton County, South Carolina, that's all of a sudden gone on the map from Walterboro. The attorneys representing the family of this dirtbag Alex Murdaugh, former housekeeper Gloria Satterfield, said that the judge recently denied Alex Murdaugh's motion to rescind the confessions he made and details surrounding her death a few years back in 2018. And the family said, "We are beyond elated and so pleased to announce that the judge has denied Alex Murdaugh, Jim Griffith, and Dick Harpootlian's motion to vacate the confession of a judgment that was made once again." So they keep trying to victimize the Satterfields in this. And supposedly this woman died by falling down a flight of stairs.
Mm-hmm.
And
at the Murdaugh's house.
At the Murdaugh's house, yeah. And after all the other things that have come out about Murdaugh and the murders that have gone on, they said they've exhumed the body to find out maybe she didn't fall downstairs, or at least if she did it with help. So the details that Murdaugh motioned to rescind came from the response of the 2022 fraud complaint made by Nautilus Insurance Company that alleged that the information they received from Murdaugh about Satterfield's death was incorrect. So good on them. And of this judge saying, this is nonsense. We're throwing this out. We don't want anything to do with you anymore. Stay in jail. In fact, we ought to put him under it.
Well, and, I think we're seeing problems with the justice system, but, in some cases it's working. We did see that Hunter Biden didn't get his sweetheart deal that he was planning on getting. This is actually a good outcome as well. We need to hold people accountable that break the law, no matter if they have a lot of money or they have a lot of power, a lot of influence. They all need to be held accountable for what they're doing.
Yeah.
And, we're seeing this across the country, Bill. It's kind of scary when, we have the 45th president of the United States being persecuted, and he's being persecuted for things that the Democrats have done for years.
Yeah, or doing and are actually doing in his behalf.
Yes.
And blaming him for it. It's the old Saul Alinsky's rules for radicals. You blame the other side for what you're doing. In fact, they're fabricating these stories. And we've just had another one with this FBI agent that you just mentioned.
Yeah.
A former FBI agent.
Yep. There's a former FBI agent that is now going to be he's going to be going to jail.
Oh.
He's pleading guilty for colluding with the Russians, and he was actually part of the team that was investigating Trump colluding with the Russians. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, it really is.
So I think it's just, how can people not see this and just be so disgusted with the Justice Department and what they're doing? They're coming after innocent people. They're prosecuting all of these people that were even in the vicinity of Washington, D.C. on January 6th.
Yeah, if you were driving by, yeah. But we can't find out who leaked the Dobbs decision at the Supreme Court, and we can't figure out where that cocaine came from in the West Wing of the White House.
Oh, well, it's in the family orbit is what I recently heard yesterday.
The family orbit.
Yes. So they're playing games. They know who did it. We all know who did it. So.
Yep.
And honestly, that's not the worst thing they've done. So, I mean, we're focused on this cocaine thing, but really it's like, we're not surprised.
We're selling us down the river.
Yeah. I mean, they're doing so much more worse things to our country than, Hunter Biden bringing cocaine into the White House.
Yeah, we got the Russians and the Chinese doing sea maneuvers and having in the China Sea, as well as right up to the Aleutian Islands, right into almost U.S. territory. And we've had to put our naval ships and submarines on the line to sort of protect the area at this point. And they said, then the Chinese and the Russians, there's nothing to see here. We're just having these exercises. Isn't that what they told us when they were on the border of Ukraine?
Yeah.
Just questioning that.
So going back to the justice system, we also had the Eric Chauvin case that happened. He was
Minneapolis, a police officer.
Yep, he went to jail. I mean, he was sentenced. All of that. Someone that was holding back the crowd, also a police officer, was not involved in the actual what was going on, and probably maybe didn't even see what was going on. He was just making sure that the crowd was not, getting out of control.
Yeah, he was following the orders of his commander.
Yes,
which was Derek Chauvin, and
he was sentenced this week. And we have that judge. This judge is despicable, by the way, in my opinion.
Yeah, this is disgusting because we're now making monuments to thugs. So St. George Floyd. I think they have a statue of him up there now. I wish somebody spray paint it and tear it down. But we've got this statue to St. George, and they accused Derek Chauvin of killing him. The autopsy has already shown that this guy was going to die anyway. He was a thug. He was a dirtbag. He had a felony record as long as your arm. He was saying, "I can't breathe," when they stopped him and pulled him out of the car, when he was stopped for passing a counterfeit $20 bill. And we didn't see that tape for over 4 months after this whole thing had blown up and the country was on fire in the summer of love 3 years ago. And now this judge is sentencing this guy who was standing guard over the situation for what? Let's see.
To be perfectly honest, after 3 years of reflection, I was hoping for a little more remorse, regret, acknowledgement of some responsibility, and less preaching. And I'm not going to rehash all the facts from my order, which I found that the things you did and the things you didn't do make you guilty of this crime. I'm not going to rehash all that. Suffice it to say that I think your culpability is less than Mr. Chauvin, but well above Mr. King and Mr. Lane as an experienced senior officer who was in the best position to save George Floyd. Accordingly, it's my belief that a sentence at the top of the range would be condign punishment. So as to count 2, having been found guilty by the court of aiding and abetting manslaughter in the 2nd degree, after a trial pursuant to Minnesota Rule of Criminal Procedure 26.01 Subdivision 3, judgment of the court is that you are convicted of that offense. Count 1 is dismissed pursuant to the negotiation. You are sentenced to 57 months in prison with credit for 340 days already served. This sentence will be concurrent with your federal sentences.
I apologize, Your Honor.
And will be served at a federal facility designated by the United States Bureau of Prisons. Upon release from your federal sentence, you will be transferred to the Minnesota Department of Corrections to serve the remainder of your state sentence unless alternative arrangements are made with the United States Bureau of Prisons. Your provided DNA sample is required by law, and you are prohibited from possessing firearms and ammunition for the remainder of your life. Pay a $50 fine, $75 surcharge, and $3 law library fee from prison wages. Any questions?
Oh, no. God bless you, sir.
All right, we're adjourned. Thank you.
That's not what I'd have said.
No, but what do you do in these situations? I mean, he was a police officer. It wasn't like he was some thug on the street. He's going to have to serve his federal sentence as well as a state sentence. So,
And how is he going to save George Floyd's life? The autopsy has already, I don't know where this judge has been for the last 3 years, but the autopsy proved that George Floyd was going to die anyway. He had overdosed on fentanyl, and he was dying. He also had a very bad heart. He was not going to live through this situation. They've also done some reconstruction of the accident or the incident. Derek Chauvin was acting in the policies of the Minneapolis Police Department. He was acting, and he also didn't have. I know the optics looked bad, but his knee was that there was no evidence that his knee was pressing
it wasn't on his
the
neck.
oh,
It
yeah.
wasn't on his neck. It was
Yeah.
on the shoulder blade.
Mhm.
And here's the thing, Bill. Wasn't it in this country we would rather see more guilty people go free than have one innocent man in prison?
Exactly.
What are we doing? I mean, they didn't want the cities to burn, and that's why they didn't want to deal with the riots that would happen if they had done the right thing in this case.
I don't know why on our side we're not picketing in front of this judge's house, giving out his phone number, finding out where his kids go to school, where his wife works, and playing loud music in front of his house, and having big picnics in front of his house. And I don't know why our side's not doing that.
Because we work for a living, Bill, and we believe.
That's right.
Exactly.
We have jobs.
We don't have time to go out and picket and do all of this stuff. Not only that, it's morally wrong to harass people like this.
Exactly.
I mean, I'm sorry that we have a moral conscience. And yes, I wish that there was something we could do. But also, when are we just not going to allow it? There are more of us than there are of them. And at the end of the day, we just need to start saying no to some of this stuff, Bill.
I mean, I mean, the most important thing is for us to start getting back to the polls. You have got to vote for the right people. You have to make sure when we get Donald Trump back in the White House, whether you like it or not, you hold your nose if you have to. But and one of the things that I think the Trump advisors, and I don't know how much advice he takes, but nevertheless, this campaign that he's doing about how they're being mean to me is not going to work. Is not going to fly completely. He's got to start talking about Joe Biden and say, look how good things were when I was president, and look how bad things are now under Biden, because they reversed everything that I did. That's the campaign trail.
The thing is, Bill, everyone knows it.
I know. People's
lives are so different than they were 2.5 years ago. And,
point that out to them. Well, apparently some people don't. I mean, when we talk to people who, in fact, tomorrow we're going to be doing an interview. We're going to have an interview with Jeff Van Drew, the congressman from New Jersey, who is one of those who is opposing the windmills that they're building off the coast of New Jersey, where we see all these whales washing up on shore. I talk to people who don't even know that story.
Yep, there's plenty of people, because they've turned off the news. They don't want to hear it. So no matter how much Trump talks about it, people might not even hear it.
You think people know this stuff, and then when you see on Jesse Waters, when they do this man on the street and they ask these people about a certain thing that you and I and you,
but
I know
we're the
preaching to the choir. Yeah,
we're the 1%ers that pay attention to everything. That's
right.
We're a totally different class of people.
But you would think at least they would have heard this in passing. This would have been water cooler talk or whatever, and they're clueless. Absolutely clueless.
Well, and before we jump to break, I just want to read some of the comments this morning. Lizzie Warren says, this kind of ruling makes all citizens less safe. Mary McCann Highbreeder says, this is so wrong. The police officer is innocent. 100% agree with you. And Lizzie Warren says, political persecution, a.k.a. prosecution. Absolutely. That's where we're at in this country. And we're going to be talking about, when we get back from the break, we're going to be talking about, these Democrat cities and how unsafe they are. I mean, there are citizens everywhere that are trying to flee and find safety.
And where are they going to go?
She trains at 6 a.m. every morning. She spent years working to shave off seconds. She's the captain of her school's team. He's just a mid-pack finisher. But not today. Unfortunately, this competition was over before it even began.
Come join us today at Sweet Potatoes Kitchen for some of that good Southern home cooking, like fried chicken, fish, and mouth-watering banana pudding. Say it's the best in the world, and you won't get an argument from me. Also, those vegetables are fresh and delicious. Voted Southside's best restaurant in Savannah at least 5 times, and large corporate parties are welcome. Tell them Bill Edwards sent you. Drop by and eat today. Everybody loves sweet potatoes.
Serving the Savannah area with the power of the Shield since 1934, with personal insurance, employee benefits, and business insurance, with integrity, security, and trust. For more information, go to thepoweroftheshield.com.
Welcome back to Get Real America.
I'm Bill Edwards.
I'm Brittany Brown.
And welcome back.
Yes, and Lizzie Warren says, I bought cat food yesterday. The same box was $8 before Biden was installed. Yesterday I paid $13 for the exact same box.
Let me darn.
Yeah, the thing is I don't think people may not be listening to the news, but they're seeing in their everyday lives, especially when you look at the fact that the debt has reached over $1 trillion for the first time ever on credit cards.
Yeah.
So people are using credit cards to cover expenses now.
But again, we go back to the fact that a lot of people are not making the connection. How come everything's going up so much? Well, you voted for Joe Biden.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the case. That was a shock to these people up in Chicago when people were, they were saying we're going to have to take matters into our own hands in our neighborhood because we're being attacked. And somebody said, "Well, you voted for this," and the jaws just dropped. We did. Yeah, you did.
You didn't do your research, and you have no idea how these people impact your life.
Exactly. You had a good chance to get a decent mayor. Of course, they hadn't one in Chicago in quite a while now. But the fact is that you need to understand how your vote reflects what happens in life. These people run your lives.
They do, and you look at what's happening all across the country. Portland has been kind of ground zero for a lot of this stuff as well.
Mm-hmm.
You look at the riots of 2020. Portland was horrible. Seattle was horrible.
And still is.
Yes. And Andy No, who was a reporter, investigative reporter that has been on the ground at a lot of these riots.
What a what a powerful and brave reporter. I mean, he's narrowly lost his leg. Got a fractured skull out of one of these episodes. Yeah. Yeah, and so he had his court date yesterday against these 2 Antifa people that attacked him. And because Antifa is actually just an idea. That's right. Yeah, that's right.
Just
listen to Jerry Nadler, the nattering Nabob, whose IQ is approaching single digits.
Yes. And, there was a report. So number one, they were found not guilty. So that's exciting and fun. Don't know how you could find that the case. But again, when you have allowed the court system, so we don't think that these positions are important, but these judges get appointed and some judges are elected. So remember that as you vote for people, that they're going to have power to put people on the bench that could put you in jail for stuff like this, or
spitting on the sidewalk.
Yep. Or not holding people accountable for attacking you.
Mm-hmm.
So found not guilty yesterday. Huge disappointment. But there was a reporter that went to the courthouse and has been covering this court case. Her car was parked away from the courthouse because she didn't want there to be anything done to her car. And guess what? They broke into her car. Antifa, in fact.
Yeah, this is what it looks like. I want to know where
That's
their kids go
unbelievable.
to school.
It's unbelievable.
I want to find out where their phone numbers are.
Well, that's the thing, Bill. But do you really feel good about doing that to people?
No.
I think that's the thing. We just are, yeah, in theory, we would like to do that. But I don't think any of us really want to do that because they're still human beings. But at the end of the day, they should be held accountable. If you live in Portland, it's not going to happen. If you live in Chicago, it's not going to happen. And
it's just like when Nancy Pelosi, when President Trump called the MR the 13
National Guard?
No, MR13 or whatever. What is it? The
M13?
M13. Yeah, the terrorists from Mexico, and called them animals. And Nancy, and all of a sudden, Nancy, these are people who will cut out people's eyeballs and then mail them to their cut off people's fingers that they kidnapped and mail them to the parents, things of that nature.
Really good people we should be protecting.
But Nancy Pelosi stands up for them and says, "We're all God's children. How dare he call them animals?" I thought he insulted the animals.
They should have been offended. Steve Stanton's with us this morning, and he says, I don't recognize Joe Biden's America. And Lizzie Warren says, do not vote for anyone simply because they are the incumbent. Doxing is against the law, yet some people are allowed to get away with it. Absolutely. And, I myself have been doxed. It's really fun.
Yeah. So but it's pathetic what's going on, and we're not cracking down on these people. And they ought to be finding out. I mean, where was security?
Nowhere to be found.
Did all this damage to the car and nobody did anything?
Here's the thing, Bill. When you defund the police and you basically tell everyone that you hate the police, why would they protect you?
Exactly.
I mean, I don't blame police officers. I believe that the government has a lot to do with that. The media has a lot to do with it. And we've got to make some major changes in this country. That means, you know what? You might vote for someone that maybe doesn't have political experience. And guess what? Those are the people we want in office, because the people that have political experience, they have a way of making deals that sell us all out. Yeah.
It was when the late, great Herman Cain was running for Senate, when he was on my radio show on numerous occasions. He said, people were asking him, well, you've never been in politics. Why do you think you're qualified for this job? You've never been in politics. You've never done this. He said, you've been electing these other politicians for 60 years or 70 years now. How's that worked out for you? And what would happen when we got a businessman in the White House at long last? Look how good things got.
Yeah, well, and you talk to people around the city, and they tell you, I don't vote. I don't get involved in politics. And
you do.
They have no idea that their lack of here's the other thing. A vote is so important to some people. Like, I know it's very important to you. It's very important to me to vote. I take a lot of pride in that. I make sure I do my research. I look at everything. There's a lot of people that just think that voting is a waste of their time. I don't need to do it. It's a civic duty. And if you aren't willing to participate, I kind of, I'm with Vivek on this. Maybe, I think high school kids should have to pass a civics test. It should be the same civics test we require people that are applying for citizenship. They should have to take, and for them to be able to vote, because otherwise people don't care about something unless you try to take it away from them. Unfortunately.
Yeah.
So I do think that, there's a reason that people become more conservative throughout their life, typically. When they have to start paying the taxes and they, own a business and things like that, they tend to lean a little bit more conservative, at least fiscally.
Yeah, as the old saying goes, you don't know what you've got until you lose it.
Yeah, well, people in Oakland are, they're feeling like their neighborhood is out of control.
Yeah.
People are being forced out of their homes, not because they can't afford it, but because they don't want to be mugged. They're starting to mug people at stop signs. They're breaking into people's cars. I mean, really scary stuff that we all used to say, not in America.
Mm-hmm.
That will never happen.
That'll never happen here.
Not here.
Yeah, well, it's happening here, and we better wake up to it because Oakland now looks like a war zone. In fact, I've seen cleaner war zones.
Right now, I was just getting groceries, and I live in San Francisco, and I never really feel full.
After living here her entire life,
Can't take it anymore. I got to the point I was too scared to leave my house.
Cook blames brazen assaults and robberies in broad daylight, break-ins, and home invasions across the city, as Oakland sees a surge in reported violent crimes this year compared to last. While homicides are down, robberies, burglaries, and rape are all up by double-digit percentages. Everyone we talk to says it doesn't matter your race, your income, everyone seems to be a target, including carjackings like this one.
No. Now they're carjacking people at stop signs, and my son is about to start driving. The fact that I am being pushed out because I emotionally can't take it anymore is horrible.
But Tony Bird is staying. She lives with a locked front gate and 5 security cameras. Bird says Oakland police recommended steel braces for residential doors and air horns.
The idea is if you set it off, your neighbor would hear it, set theirs off, and more people are alert that there's danger.
Why do we have to be prisoners in our own homes?
Well, here's the other thing. We last week, I think we met with a guy that actually is he's a tech guy from California, and he now lives in Florida. Imagine that.
Mm-hmm.
And when he goes back to visit, like his friends and family, like they talk about how they live their life, and they talk about, how people are breaking into their Teslas and how you avoid this. And he's like, that's everyday conversation for them. And I mean, he's like, people have just accepted that that's how they live. He's like, if they came to Florida, they'd be amazed that you actually like talk about other stuff because you don't have to worry about the crime.
Yeah, how the Gators going to do this weekend.
Yeah, so he said that people have really just accepted the way of life because I think California over time has just gotten worse and worse and worse, and so people just kind of adapt.
And the guy in charge out there is the one that the Democrats are touting about putting him up for president of the United States.
Yeah, really exciting stuff. Gavin Newsom, wow.
Yeah. He better hope that we continue to go after our own oil, though. Otherwise, he won't be able to fix his hair.
Yeah, he's a greasy politician, that's for sure. Lizzie Warren says, I suspect most of Oakland mugging victims voted for the politicians that created the chaos. Yes, you are correct.
Yep, they
and
did.
Downtown Savannah residents often just leave their cars unlocked to avoid the damage. That's exciting and fun right here in Savannah.
Mm-hmm.
And Mary Hybrader said, this is happening everywhere, deception and chaos. Absolutely. And I think we have the video clip of the young woman who lives in San Francisco, which she says she no longer feels safer in the daytime, but definitely not at night.
I'm literally shaking right now. I was just getting groceries, and I live in San Francisco, and I never really feel fully safe. If you live in San Francisco, I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. And I just got groceries. I'm walking out of the store, and this guy is walking past me and says, "Move, you stupid bitch," and he spits in my face. Spits all over my face. And then I say, "Excuse me, did you just spit in my face?" And he says, "Move or I'll rape you." There's also people everywhere, and everyone's just walking by because they're like, I can't handle something else in San Francisco. It's always something else. I don't even know why I'm posting this. If you live in San Francisco, do you feel this way all the time? I don't feel safe, ever. I literally never feel safe. It's better when it's daylight. But nighttime, no, not leaving my house.
Does she have a taser or something, or is that against the law in California?
It probably is. And these people, they have voted for it. I'm assuming that she's probably a Democrat. I mean, people assume that I'm a Democrat because I'm younger, and I just don't think that
Could
they
be
think that
further from the
conservatives
truth.
exist. Yes, but I don't understand why people continue to want to live this way, and they do not understand that it's because of their voting. But also, there's a lot of ballot harvesting that happens in California that they've allowed to happen, and sometimes I don't know how you're going to take back control of what they've been allowed to do, especially when you have California now saying they've reduced the penalties for someone who rapes or does anything to a child.
Mm-hmm.
What are we doing in California?
Yeah.
They're burning it down.
Well, when the Democrats just had a vote recently in the Congress, what happened? They didn't vote for going after child traffickers.
Nope, they sure didn't.
Uh-huh.
They sure didn't. And
right.
When we get back, we're going to be talking with two guys right here in Georgia that are doing
yeoman service
yes.
to try to get back to paper ballots and get their election integrity back where it should be.
Yep, when we get back.
Stay real.
Are you a mom or dad? Do you have little kids with big dreams? Well, hopefully your kids aren't white or Asian, because if they are, they will have a very hard time getting into their dream college or landing their dream job. Top schools and corporations are run by left-wing Democrats, and they openly discriminate against whites and Asians. So even if your daughter has the best test scores, even if your son has amazing grades, even if they spend extra hours studying and doing everything right, it won't be enough. Unless you suddenly discover that you're part Cherokee, or transgender, or in the country illegally. Otherwise, your kids are out of luck. Which begs the question, if Democrats are hurting your children, why would you ever vote for them? Stop the bigotry. Stop the insanity. Paid for by Citizens for Sanity.
When I grow up, I want to work for a woke company, like super woke. When I grow up, I want to be hired based on what I look like rather than my skills.
I want to be judged by my political beliefs.
I want to get promoted
based on my chromosomes. When I grow up, I want to be offended by my coworkers and walk around the office
on eggshells
and have my words policed
by HR. Words like
grandfather,
peanut gallery,
long time no see,
no can do.
When I grow up,
I want to be obsessed with emotional safety and do workplace sensitivity training all day long. When I grow up, I want to climb the corporate ladder
just by following the crowd.
I want to be a conformist. I want to weaponize my pronouns. What are pronouns?
It's time to grow up and get back to work. Introducing the #1 woke-free job board in America, redballoon.work.
Serving the Savannah area with the power of the Shield since 1934, with personal insurance, employee benefits, and business insurance, with integrity, security, and trust. For more information, go to thepoweroftheshield.com.
Come join us today at Sweet Potatoes Kitchen for some of that good Southern home cooking, like fried chicken, fish, and mouth-watering banana pudding. Say it's the best in the world, and you won't get an argument from me. Also, those vegetables are fresh and delicious. Voted Southside's best restaurant in Savannah at least 5 times, and large corporate parties are welcome. Tell them Bill Edwards sent you. Drop by and eat today. Everybody loves sweet potatoes.
Welcome back to Get Real America.
I'm Bill Edwards.
I'm Brittany Brown.
And we have a couple of guests with us here, at least virtually.
Yes, we have Phil Searcy and Sam Carnline, and they have started this Paper Please initiative across the state of Georgia. Thanks for joining us, guys.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, well, and we're not talking about paper as far as manufacturing. We're talking about voting and making our giving people faith in the voting rolls again, right, Phil?
That's exactly right. There's a loss of trust in our voting system with all the irregularities and the Ligon hearing that happened about 3 years ago, almost 3 years ago now, that said there were so many irregularities that our election should not have been certified. And we have the same system, the same software, and nothing's been done to solve it.
Well, and Brad Raffensperger was actually down here in Chatham County in Savannah yesterday.
Yeah,
Monday.
with the Rotary Club. Yeah.
Yes, and I mean, he's still saying we have the most secure elections here in the state of Georgia.
Everything is just peachy.
I read an article on that where he was over there yesterday stating such, and I just forwarded it to a few people, which is it's just not so. And of course, there's so much evidence, like Phil said, the 15-page Ligon document that on page 12 said the 2020 election was so fraught with systemic irregularities and voter fraud that it should not be certified. And then I think on the page 14, it said that it needed to be aggressively investigated by the GBI and the Attorney General's office, Chris Carr, and people to be prosecuted, or it's going to continue to happen. And 2022 proved it.
Yeah, well, Sam, we've got people who have signed documents that worked at these polling places that would go to jail if they signed these things fraudulently. Especially the lady up in north of Atlanta, where she went into they set up the voting machines the night before. She goes in the next morning, and it's like 12 degrees in there. You could have hung meat, and those machines are temperature sensitive. And the HVAC guys finally came in around noon and said, "There's nothing wrong with your HVAC system. Somebody cut off the gas." I'm sure it was just a coincidence.
No doubt.
So talk to us about, number one, why did you guys get involved in this initiative? Because I know that this is a big undertaking.
Phil, we'll go with you first.
Well, I've been following electronic voting systems for a number of years. Back when we had the D-Bowl system, that did not have any kind of paper receipt at all. A number of my friends, as well as myself, were involved in trying to get something done about that, to have a paper trail that actually could be audited. And so I've been following this for probably 10 years. Haven't been really heavily engaged in it until, I would say, last September. I saw a gentleman named Sam Carnline on the video, and he was in my own county, and I saw him speaking to the Grady County Board of Commissioners about our election systems, and we need to do something about it. And so I sought him out, and we've become fast friends since then. And that's really the genesis of how I really got involved in this most recent initiative.
Sam, do you think that we're going to be able to get this done by, we got November coming up right here with the local election. We're going to be electing another, well, we're not going to be electing another mayor here in Savannah. I think if we didn't have term limits, he'd be in there for a long time. But could we get this thing done by this November?
It's our hope that we can get it done this calendar year before the 2024 election. And there's a lot of people that's gotten on board and trying to push it. And a lot of it's come through what, of course, voter GA, Garland Favorito and his crowd have been working this for many years, upwards toward 20. And then, like Field said, we became friends in September, and Field is an electronic computer guru, and I'm a 100% paper guy. Keep flashing my paper around. But that little paper please push came when I went to our county commission here in Grady County after I talked to our election superintendent, and was knowing that we had to make a move. And I've been trying to talk to our state legislators, and all they want to do is patronize me and pat me on the head and tell me to go back home and get behind my next candidate. And I told them negative, and so I guess I was one of the starters that went to the county commission and started requesting that the county commission, who I felt had authority through 21-2-334 to that they had the authority to do so, and under that term, impracticable. And to me, it was impracticable to continue to vote on these machines when I knew that they were fraught with issues.
Mm-hmm.
And about 15 minutes before I went to the county commission meeting, one of the ladies here in the office where I work, I said, "Can you make me up some little paper sheets for people to hold that says paper please?" And so that's where paper please came from.
And Field, who are your
We had about
representatives?
100 people at that county commission meeting, and I ran out of sheets. I think I had 50. And so 50 of those people held up the little paper please sheets. And then Field and I were in another meeting where it kind of took fire and took off. After Field had established this website, georgiansfortruth.org.
And Field, who are your representatives that pat you on the head and say, go back where you came from?
Well, he's probably referring to, well, I can't say that Representative Darlene Taylor pats us on the head. She's actually been gracious in a lot of ways. And so
Mhm.
has Senator Sam Watson. Sam and I are both in the same senatorial and House
Mhm.
district.
Yep.
They've been gracious to us in both fronts. I think it's probably more of the leadership that's the ones that are patting people on the head and saying, you know,
Are
Sam
they
can answer that better.
are they afraid of this because of the? I know it's going to be expensive to switch over to another system again, but are they afraid of this? Is there somebody that's threatening them this system or whatever?
Well, first of all, I don't think switching to another system is going to be that expensive. Number one,
Mhm.
we already have a legislative code that provides for hand counting. And what we need to do there is make that hand counting transparent to the public.
Mhm.
And the video equipment to do that is open source, and that's not. I don't think the major cost is switching to a hand count. My personal feeling is they voted hard. They pushed the Republican majority pushed to get the Dominion machines, and they spent $100+ million in doing so. And if they admit it was a mistake, it's going to look bad for them. And I
Mhm.
think that's probably the biggest reason why they don't want to do it.
So you guys went to the State Board of Elections meeting a week ago and talk to us about how that went. And number one, I think that was probably one of the biggest turnouts that they've seen. And I think that that's what elected officials are seeing all over Georgia, is that they are having large attendances that they're not used to having. So talk to us a little bit about how that went and how you got all those people there.
You want me to answer, or Sam?
Either way, whoever wants to take the question.
Go ahead, Phil.
Phil, okay, go ahead, Phil.
Well, I think they've had large audiences at the state election board in the past few years, but never have they had more than 50 people that I know of to speak public and give public comment. And I think the state election board was taken a little aback by it. We had so many people in the room that the fire marshal came in and says, "We need to take some of you people out of here and put you in the overflow in the other building." So that was, I think, a watershed day in this movement was the state election board meeting and our presence there. And all the comments that people made, they were right on point, that we need security grade, hand marked paper ballots, hand counted at the precinct on the day of the election in full public, transparency. That was the mantra. And we got people there. I mean, we're working with a lot of different groups. There's Voter GA, there's Paper Ballots 2024 initiative, there's the Georgians for Truth initiative. There's people all over the state that are involved in this. And we've been networking together, we've been sharing information, and we got the word out. And, thank the Lord, we had a great turnout. And it was a great day.
Now,
What I say is,
go ahead, Sam.
I'm sorry. What I was going to say is people are up to their nose with this. people like myself that have been to legislators. The first one I went to was Barry Fleming back in probably January or no later than February of 2021, when I knew what I knew. And I read the 15-page document that Ligon put out, and let me tell you what Barry Fleming told me right out of his own mouth. He said that he knew that there was fraud in the 2020 election, but it was not enough to cause a problem, and that they had it under control. And so they came out with House Bill 202, and it was less than a good patch, and we still have problems because in 2022, in the DeKalb County race where Ms. Spears didn't get any votes shown by the machine, but after a hand recount, and the only hand recount I'm aware of, came up with over 3,000 votes. It took her from not placing to first place. You tell me I can trust what I'm getting out of these machines? Negative. And that's the way other people feel too. And we're tired of it, and we're going to change it.
What Field or Sam, either one? What's it going to take to go to a paper ballot as far as counting goes and accounting as opposed to the machines? Field?
What's it going to take?
Yeah, more people.
Well, I mentioned earlier there are provisions in the code now to do a hand count,
right?
And what it's going to take is this needs to happen in every county, because if we don't do it in all 159,
exactly,
the larger counties can overwhelm the smaller counties and will be disenfranchised. But we already have right now we have an absentee ballot that is like our old style ballot with bubbles on it, and you fill it in, you hand mark it. And we could use that same ballot format. We would like to have one that has security grade paper, either watermarked or some other anti-counterfeiting measures. But, the simplest path, we've all been talking about we want a special session. The simplest path is we would have the governor, Kemp, declare an emergency executive order and saying these systems are fraudulent, they're not secure, we need to have trust in our elections, and would issue an order that requires all counties to use a hand count methodology and videotape record it for the public to know. That would be the simplest path and easiest path.
Holding your breath on that?
Well, I understand that's a big ask, but I'm saying that's the simplest path. The harder path is to get a special session and get 2/3 or 3/5 of the legislators to vote for something, and then enough to have veto proof that he won't veto it after they've approved something. That is what we've been trying to push for. Now, as far as the mechanics of it, I'm sure there's some details that still need to be worked out as far as protocols, but the paper is there, the code is there, and what else would it take? Sam, you might want to add to that.
Well, the biggest thing I want to add to it is it's going to take pressure from a lot of people, and everybody that's interested in this movement needs to call leadership and your own representative and senator. But leadership needs to be called, emailed, hammered in any kind of way that you possibly can think of doing. It needs to happen every day, because the more they hear from we the people, the more we're going to get some action done out of the people that go up to the Gold Dome.
Phil and Sam, I think one of the biggest problems that we have is that the Democratic Party is not. It is just the Democrat Party, but it's not for America anymore, and they know that the system is rigged in their favor, and trying to get 3/5 or whatever the majority of the legislature to vote for this seems to me to be a pipe dream.
Well,
Phil,
I'm not sure about that.
If I might just a minute, we're actually talking to the Democratic side from our side. We have good relationships with a few of them, and we're trying to get to have better relationships and more relationships with the Democrats, because this is absolutely a nonpartisan issue. A lie is a lie, no matter if it's a red lie or a blue lie. and we're looking for truth. And there's a lot of Democrats that are looking for truth too.
So,
Well, just to add to that, I mean, there was a strict party line vote on approving this system. That was some of the objections that were brought up by the Democrats, that it was going to be costly to maintain and support, and they didn't want this electronic voting system. So I don't know that it's a
bless their
difficult
hearts.
ask to reach out to them and say, hey, you once said you were against electronic voting. Are you still against it? Because I don't know that it's rigged in their favor. I think it's rigged in the incumbent's favor, whoever the incumbent might be.
Exactly. Yeah. Pretty.
well, so when are you guys running for office?
Yeah.
May I just state plainly and clearly that I absolutely hate politics. The reason I'm involved in this is because I'm looking for true, fair, honest elections in this state. And if we get this done, I'm going to, do the Hallelujah chorus song.
All right.
And do my best to, again, support people that are interested in running for office. And that's my stance on it.
Yeah. Nothing gets you in trouble like the truth these days, Field.
That's right.
So what kind of response are you guys getting from this movement? Because we all know that you guys are being painted as far-right extremists, whatever thing they can throw at you right now, that's what they're saying, because they a lot of people don't want this to happen.
They're scared of you.
Well, what I'll say to those people is truth is truth, and God is of truth, and big old Goliath came down with one rock.
Yep.
Right.
And and as there's an old Irish proverb that says, "He who tells the truth should keep one foot in the stirrup." But listen, we appreciate you guys, and thank you very much for being with us.
Well, and if people want to get involved, how do they get in touch with you guys?
Yeah.
You go to georgiansfortruth.org, and we have a website there where you can download our Paper Please push cards that you print them out on your own printer or take them to a local printer. Hand these out wherever you go, get people involved. We have yard sign templates you can download, get those printed up at a local printer. We have T-shirts that we're asking people to buy from us. They help cover some of our costs, but wear these at every event you go to, hand them out, and get your neighbors involved. We need to start talking about this and get massive pressure. We do have a Facebook and Twitter presence, but our website has resources for a lot of we actually have a petition you can download and modify for your county. We have other resources there that help you out, and also copies if you want to download the Ligon report or the Haldeman report that was just released. You can download it there. The MITA report that was unsigned, it's there. You can download the 29 cybersecurity experts rebuttal to the MITA report. So all of that stuff is on the resources page at georgiansfortruth.org.
All right. Field, Sam, thanks very much for being with us. Thanks for your time. We'll tell everybody about you. You tell everybody about us, okay?
We'll do it. Thank you for having us. And the call to action, people, is call your legislators, call your representatives, senators, and the governor, and tell them, let's get rid of these machines. Paper, please.
Amen. Yeah.
I love that you're being polite.
Yep.
Thanks. We'll be right back.
Savannah, I'm coming home, Savannah.
When you're looking to buy a business or sell a business, the experts at Best Business Brokers have you covered. Whether you're ready to cash in on your years of hard work or you're taking that first step in buying a business of your own, they're here to guide you through the process and make sure you get the best outcome possible. By having Best Business Brokers assist you when you buy a business or sell a business, they handle the legwork of the intricate process. This ensures a smooth transition of ownership, allowing you to get to work immediately or receive payment for your business as soon as possible. With base operations in Savannah and Charleston, they service all of Georgia and South Carolina. If you're considering starting a business here, the The mild winters and 5-tiered economic areas make these the perfect places to do so. If you're ready to buy a business or sell a business, then you're ready to contact Best Business Brokers. Visit their website at b3brokers.com or call at 912-349-0940.
Serving the Savannah area with the power of the Shield since 1934 with personal insurance, employee benefits, and business insurance. With integrity, security, and trust. For more information, go to thepoweroftheshield.com.
Come join us today at Sweet Potatoes Kitchen for some of that good Southern home cooking, like fried chicken, fish, and mouth-watering banana pudding. Say it's the best in the world, and you won't get an argument from me. Also, those vegetables are fresh and delicious. Voted Southside's best restaurant in Savannah at least 5 times, and large corporate parties are welcome. Tell them Bill Edwards sent you. Drop by and eat today. Everybody loves sweet potatoes.
Welcome back to Get Real America.
I'm Bill Edwards.
I'm Brittany Brown.
Heading down the home stretch here for this Wednesday.
Yes, and we have a lot of people watching today. So Joe Pilot says, my state representative has me blocked and won't respond to my calls. So that's exciting and fun. We need a national stand your ground law. 100% agreed, Joe. And Mary McCann Hybrider says the 2022 midterms proved it. No way Raffensperger won. And that's in reference to the Paper Please initiative that Field and Sam have going that we just talked to them. Lizzie Warren agrees with Mary 100%. And Steve Statton says, just donated on their site. Good luck, guys. And on this note with elections, we do have at the GOP office here in Chatham County, we're at 321 Commercial Drive. We do have those Paper Please signs, yard signs. If you guys want one, they're free. Come pick them up. We just want to get the word out and make sure that that initiative is being taken care of.
Yep. We want our elections to be of the utmost importance and have the utmost integrity.
Yes. And just a side note, the GOP office is open Tuesdays and Thursdays from 10 a.m. until 2 p.m. And then on Saturdays, we are open from 10 to noon. So I just want to put a quick plug in there since Sam and Field were on the show, and they are doing amazing work. They both still work for a living, and they are all over the state pushing this initiative. So make sure to support them. And thank you, Steve Stanton, for donating to them.
Yeah, if they've got time to do it, then the rest of us have time to do it. Get out there and let people know that we need to bring security back to our election system, and we need to have people have faith in it again.
Well, and I think
it's getting pretty shaky.
Well, and it doesn't matter how many times Brad Raffensperger says we have the most secure, fair, free elections here in the state of Georgia. If the people aren't buying it, it doesn't matter how many times you're saying that.
Perception's reality.
Well, and people are saying, I'm not voting on a Dominion machine. Until they get the Dominion machines out of here, I'm not voting. This hurts Republicans. And the Republicans that are in office right now need to understand that it hurts them being reelected as well.
Exactly.
So very important initiative. Also, make sure you check out Garland Favorito. He's doing kind of a different work. His initiative is Unplug Georgia, but he has been known for battling this in court. So he has a lot of court cases. He is being called back into court all the time. I believe the 14th he's being held back into court for one of his lawsuits. So very important work going on around the state of Georgia. There's a lot of people involved, and if you're not getting involved in something, you don't have to participate in every initiative, but pick an initiative and run with it, because we need more people in this battle. There isn't enough people that are willing to stand up. And one of the things that, Bill and I always talk about is the founding fathers. They lost everything, but they were willing to fight for their freedom because they thought it was worth it. And they thought everything being at risk was okay. Where we look at it opposite now. Well, I have a family. I can't be involved. It's like, at the end of the day, you're going to be in the gulags with the rest of us if we don't get on board with this stuff.
I mean, one of the signers of the Declaration of Independence was in the Revolutionary Army, and his house was taken over as a headquarters for British officers and soldiers, and intelligence gatherers and that sort of thing. And he asked one of his lieutenants, "Why haven't you fired on my house?" And he said, "Well, sir, we didn't because it's your house." He said, "Fire." He called an artillery barrage on his own house. These are the kind of people who found out, who understood how important freedom was, because they lived in a world that was run by kings and queens and Sanhedrins and all those people.
Yeah. So get involved. That's really the message here today. Get involved, take action, because we don't want to end up looking like San Francisco or some of these other Democrat-run cities. And remember to mark your calendars. We will be at the gun show this weekend. It should be a really fun weekend, so make sure to put it on your calendars, and we will see you guys out there.
That's out at the Savannah International Trade and Convention Center, and see you there Saturday and Sunday.
Yes, so remember to download our app, The Local Spin, and catch us on YouTube, Facebook, Vimeo, Rumble, or Apple or Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you guys tomorrow.
Tell all your friends.